Hello everyone, and welcome to another Star Trek Online video. Today I'm going to show you my Shrike build. Now this is a ship that I have recently picked up, but it's not an easy ship to get. This is from a promotional Starship box, but you can get it from the year-long event campaign, and we are currently in the second event of this year's campaign. But as you can see, I have a lot of progress with only 2 events, and I mean this one is still running. So keep in mind, once you got the reward, you can still continue your daily progress until the event is over, which means you can actually get quite a bit of progress from just one event. And there are going to be more events this year, so there is still enough time to pick this up, get yourself the premium, the 6th Starship choice there, and with that you could get a Shrike if you wanted to. But obviously there are a lot of great options in there. Just mentioning this as a side note. So let's get back to the Shrike itself. Now the Shrike, and I currently have a Safe Galaxy Vanity Shield on. I can of course pull that off and then show you how it looks like this. There are some customization options of the Shrike are limited, but you know what? Let me pop over to the tailor and show you. Now we are at the tailor, and here you can see this is sort of the basic materials that the basic material that you usually have. And if we go to advanced, you can see there is nothing you can change there. There is nothing you can change material wise, but what you can change is the pattern and the color of the pattern. And as you can see, the pattern is pretty much covering like the whole ship. So if you wanted your Shrike to be purple and black also, you could. Obviously it doesn't color like the glowing pits, but you know, if you wanted something like this. And you can use other patterns, but as you can see, it's interesting because the base hull of the Shrike seems to be like sort of white grayish. And it's just that the Shrike pattern is covering the entire ship. So once you have the Shrike pattern, then you can do other things, and you can make it like more red-black, or probably like black-black might be something people would be interested in. There are some parts like here on the side that are not getting colored, right? But most of the ship is affected by the colors that you pick. So you don't have a different hull material, but you certainly have some options to make your ship look different. Now I don't have a large selection of vanity shields. You already saw the Safe Galaxy one, but I do have, for example, a Valkyrie one. I think that one looks pretty neat if you were in a area with more light. Then the hull you would see like the rust and the gray a bit more, but you see now the center part here is like lovely red, and the engines are a mix of orange and red, so I think this works pretty well. You can also see the deflector down here looks like an angry eye. So this ship works relatively well, I think, with Valkyrie Vanity Shield. We'd also have something like a Terran Task Force, which makes... I don't know, I'm not really opposed to it. I mean, I think it kind of works. It's certainly busy, right, with a lot of lights there going on. You could put on something like an Iconian Resistance, and oh god, no. There is the temporal one that's a bit of a party ship there. And I mean, Lucari I think looks decent-ish with the I would have loved darker hull material. I think this is a little bit... I think the green doesn't go so well with the purple highlights, but if you want, then there is that. But let's equip the Safe Galaxy. I like that one. It works pretty well, I suppose. I feel like the Shrike with more of a camo pattern and the yellowish accents there. That fits the ship really well. Now, be that as it may, maybe you're not here to just watch the ship, but see it perform. And let me tell you about my build. So I have put a Surgical Strike build on this because I think Surgical Strike is a fun mode and it allows you to mix beams and cannons, which isn't necessarily the most beneficial thing, unless of course you are going for something like mixed armaments, which you can on this ship, so there is that. But it looks fun, I suppose. And it's something different than a lot of the normal builds you see. So I'm using a Disruptor quad cannon, also mostly just because I like visuals of the quad cannons. I have the Terran Task Force dual heavy cannons, Dark Matter Quantum Torpedo, a Wide Arc Disruptor dual heavies, and then the Disruptor Wide Angle dual heavy cannons. So I'm actually running the full 3-piece of the Discovery set, and I'm only running like the one piece of the Terran Task Force, but you know, why not? There's some nice dual heavies, I think. Then I'm running 2 pieces of the Revolutionary set, which is an old event set, which mostly offs exotics, I suppose. And then I'm running 2 pieces of the Discovery set. Now, obviously, you can change things out here as you like. You could do like a 3-piece Discovery set, for example, and maybe a colony deflector or whatever. There are, of course, always different options depending on your taste and what you have available. Now, I'm running the cutting beam with a 2-piece, mostly because I just like the cutting beam. I'm running the Pavan Omni, which is just a very good weapon in general, and then I'm running another Omni back here because I think it looks cool with a few beams. And as I've said, that's the beauty of Surgical Strikes, right? So I can combine beams and cannons as much as I like. Now, for the consoles, this is a very universal console heavy ship. This is also not something that everybody is that interested in. You could, of course, build this with like there are the fleet tactical consoles that give you crit severity, which would be a pretty good combination with Surgical Strikes in general, or I could just do Isomax or whatever floats your boat. Now, I'm using the Dragon's Blood Flame Reactor here, which synergizes very well with Disruptor because it increases bonus Disruptor damage, but it also increases some exotic damage, right? So I have the Random Chronophage here, which is a very good console, which does quite a bit of damage. I'm using a portal weapon from this ship, mostly because it's fun. The portal is most of the time buggy and a waste of a click, but it's a shame, right? This could be such a great ability, but the portal is just buggy most of the time. It opens 2 portals, right? One in front of you and one in front of the enemy, and it allows you to shoot through this portal, which would allow you to attack a ship that's further away than 10 kilometers. But the portals, sometimes the weapons don't quite shoot through it, and sometimes it just randomly disappears for no reason. But you can fly through it, so if you wanted to, you could use it to maybe travel somewhere a bit more quickly. It does have a fairly short recharge, and you can use it to trigger the Starship trait this ship has. But I mean, today there are so many universal consoles that that's not really needed, I guess. And the passives are okay, right? It's all damage and hull capacity. Now, the numbers aren't really big enough to be like a super console, but it doesn't hurt, I suppose. Then I have the Absorptive Frequency Shield Generator, which is just a nice shield here. I have the, well, I have one Isomac. Because I've put so many universal consoles on that I've phased out but a lot of my Isomacs these days. Or at least on this build, I guess. Well, I've got the custom Power Matrix here, which is from the Winter event, great console. I've got the Fleet Power Network Array, great taste console from the Avani. I've got the Assimilated Module, because I like it. The crit severity is actually quite useful, I suppose, and it has the 2-piece with the cutting beam. I've got Lorcas for the 3-piece, and I can still use the crit chance. Like, I don't really have that much crit chance. I don't have the endeavors that far ahead, so it's not like if you're running surgical strikes, I think some people manage to get like 100% crit chance. I'm not quite there yet. So I can actually use the crit chance here. Also gives a little bit more weapon power, which means I can reduce my weapon power and put some more into auxiliary for the fleet network, so there is that. Then I've got the particle conversion matrix from the Guardian cruiser, from the Sandstorm, and that it gives you shield resistance, but if you get hit, you get 10% energy and exotic damage per stack, which stacks up 10 times, so also quite a nice boost there, as long as you're getting shot. And this ship does a nice mixture of energy and exotic damage, so there is that. I have the Gemini device, which summons into photonic voyages, gives passive exotic damage, which works nice with the build, and you get firing cycle haste for 30 seconds when you summon in those photonic enterprises. It's not the most fitting for a Klingon character, I have to admit. But those are photonic ships, right? And why wouldn't Klingons create photonic copies of the Enterprise to fool their enemies? Or whatever. You know, I mean, I guess it's not really a theme build now, you see. Although I do have to say, like, this ship certainly fits, like, the fire-breathing aspect of Dragon's Blood. I think Disruptor is something that fits very well to this ship, even though the Juggernaut Raiders polar on. And with it having portal tech and so on, I feel like the high-tech nature of science and surgical strike energy weapon build fits very well. But, well, that's just how my mind works. So then I have the teleport console from last year's summer event ship, and I have the DPRM in here. And this concludes our consoles. So now we can have a look at the skills, not the skills, at traits and stations, I suppose. So trait-wise, I'm using Ship of the Line for more crit severity, which is good with surgical strikes. I have the surgical strikes extender from the legendary bug ship. I've got the 5 magics trait, which buffs my disruptor and a bunch of exotic damage. I mean, it doesn't buff all exotic damage, I should add, right? It's just fire, cold, electrical radiation, and psionic. And in order to trigger it, you need to do one of those damage types, which is okay because I have camo sights there, which does radiation damage. And obviously the Breath of the Dragon does fire damage. And most importantly, this gives category 2 damage, so bonus damage, and it also buffs my disruptors, right? I have removed a lot of the Isomax, so I mean the Isomax only do at category 1 disruptor damage, but still I don't really have that much disruptor damage bonus, so a little bit more is always nice. Now the trait from the ship itself that's actually a pretty good trait, not just for the Shrike, but for many ships, because you get 10% bonus damage and 10% faster recharge speed of capital weapons for every different type of weapon that you use. So if you just have a beam, a cannon, and a torpedo on your ship, you automatically have essentially 30% bonus damage all the time. If you then use an universal console, which is pretty easy these days, you'd have 40% bonus damage essentially all the time. Because you have to reuse every weapon time at least once every 30 seconds. And that's easily done for beams, cannons, torpedoes, and universal consoles. Now, experimental weapon would be easy too. The capital ship weapons, not so much, because it has a 2-minute cooldown. And while this trait does provide a faster recharge, you only get up to like 50% faster recharge. So you can't keep that buff up all the time. But you can use your weapon more often, so there is that. So this is a pretty good trade. It's just a shame that it's on a lockbox ships, I guess. And there is so far no mods bundle or any way of acquiring that account-wide, but I suppose it will happen in some years or so. Anyway, then I have the Ruin of Our Enemies, which is a much better trade on an AoE build, but I do have enough science AoE damage to build up some stats. And while it's just a good trade overall, I suppose. So I have that on. It's obviously a lot better if the more you farm in AoE, and it's much better, I guess, in like Elite and so on, where more damage is needed. And yeah, I have emergency weapon cycle here too. For the space reputation, I just have bonus weapon damage and bonus all damage from the auxiliary offense, then crit severity and crit chance. Personal space traits, I have the usual Boimler unconventional system stuff, and I'm running particle manipulator. Now, I don't have quite as much exotic particle gen as a true EPG build might have, but I'm getting some bonuses from this, which are quite nice. I mean, let's be honest, it's still a 41.1% crit chance, so... Considering that this is a very crit-heavy build with the weapons as well, that is certainly a very nice addition here. So my exotics crit just as much as my weapons. So yeah, let's talk about the stations. I have Surgical Strikes 3, as I've said earlier. And I've got Beta 2, I've got Iconic Turbulence, Camo Sight, and Torpedo Spread. I'm running Mixed Armament Synergies, which is such a nice combination with Surgical Strikes. Now, the uptime of Mixed Armament Synergy isn't the best, but I'm already like using different weapon combinations. With Surgical Strikes, I'm not losing anything, right? Like, it's not like adding a beam array hurts me in a sense, because Surgical Strikes buffs everything. So that's just lovely. I got emergency powered weapons and engines that I'm cycling. I've got Gravity Well, Scramble Sensors, and Tractor Beam. I mean, Gravity Well is just nice, but those are all like uncon triggers. And then I have a Hazard Emitter and a Science Team for a bit more defensive stuff, mostly like for the clear. I just hate getting sub-nuked, and Science Team can help with that. And then we've got Hazard Emitters to remove hazards mostly. So let me pop into patrol and show you the ship in combat. And I think we're just going to do a good old Agala. Look at this. Now, as a start, I can show you like the portal thing, so I could now open this portal. And then I can shoot through here, and I can actually damage them. I can even use some abilities through it. It's... this time it's actually working. I'm even tractor beaming them through it. So if it's working, it's kind of fun. And then I can fly straight through it and act them from here. So this time the portal actually worked, which is lovely. And now we start using some abilities, actually engaging them properly. I should also turn on my toggles. It would be nice.
Looks like our fight got them to notice us. Let's go over and ask if their boss might come out of hiding.
Oh, let's fight a Juggernaut array. It does have some charge up time, so you're sort of losing DPS while you do it, but it's just... it looks cool. And it does give you the buff for all of your other... like for your bonus damage. So there is that. Now, I should have... flamethrower them sooner, but this is fine. Nobody ever accused me of being good at this. Now we'll take out those carriers. Let's give them another gravity well.
You will stand down and surrender to the Benton Guard. Sensors are picking up
Teleport to this caisson.
possibly consistent with multiple temporary hideouts.
And we can flamethrower this guy.
What we want, where we want. Picked up a
You know what?
transmission on a new
Let's portal again.
We're jamming that spectrum of their comms now, but it was possibly a call for assistance.
I mean, it's a bit weird because I think they just flew through the portal. Now it's just bypass the portal here. The problem obviously is once you start shooting an enemy, they probably are going to move towards you anyway, which means the portal placement is then awkward. Okay. Let's take out the last enemies here, give them a nice lovely gravity well of our weapon firing speed, at which point they just die really quickly. And I mean, you know, surgical strikes does produce some nice big numbers if you like those.
That's got it. Excellent work. We'll send over a pacification.
Excellent work.
Take the suspect.
So, yeah, I think this is a very fun build. Obviously, fun is subjective. It's certainly not the best build that has ever existed. But a surgical strike build with some console spam there on top of it, yeah. I find that fun. And it is a ship that you can pick up from the year-long event campaign. I mean, we are still early in the year. It's gonna be 2 more events. Like, I think with 4 events you can get the final prize. But this is something you can consider, in my opinion. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed watching it, and I'll see you next time.